Oh, and another thing is that since we're using TypeScript, we have to initialize a tsconfig file, tsconfig.json, and over here will be our like TypeScript configurations. Yes. So, I mean, you can read into this if you want. There's a lot of configuration options. And I won't get into it into this video, maybe a next video. But basically, I'll go through what I'm using and explain why I'm using it. So, first and foremost, a source map. It just allows for better debugging, because when you compile the code, it gets minified, and when you try to debug it on Chrome DevTools, you can't really decipher what's going on. The target is what we're targeting. So when it gets compiled, it gets compiled ES6 friendly. Module is what it's going to be using to compile with. So common.js. This is where you definitely need these configurations. So it needs to know where it's spitting out the compile code. So it'll be in the dist folder. And then the base URL is where all the coding is going down, where all the fun stuff's going down. And just another piggy thing, so I'll want to remove comments when compiling, so put that to true. Yep, and then increments. This is just TypeScript to not compile the whole project from scratch. It will keep some memory of what needs to change and only compile what's needed. In ES module entrope, this is pretty much, this just allows me to use the how do I say this, the import statement without using the star. So what I'll be using a lot is just importing it straight. Like usually you will be needing to import star as express, but here, like for example, if I go over here, I do import express, but otherwise I'd be doing import star as express. So this just allows me to not do that over and over again. The files that what files includes is the files that I need to compile. So the files here that I need to compile are all in the source directory. So /, no matter how deep the directory is, / star dot ts. Yep. And then excludes. So obviously one of the things you want to exclude for almost for anything and everything is the big node modules folder. So we're going to go here and node modules. There you go. Cool. This is just some syntaxing. Common.js just doesn't know spelling. Unknown word because I got a spell type checker on this. Cool. tsconfig is all ready. So now if we go back here, I need to run the dev script, and you're going to be like, well, Nodemon doesn't know what to do, right? That's correct. So what Nodemon also allows you to do is create a Nodemon, same thing like a configuration folder, just like TypeScript had. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tell it what to watch, and it needs to watch the source directory, and it's gonna, with extension TypeScript, and then it's gonna execute the ts node command for the source / and it's gonna hit the server.ts folder, the file. Cool. Yep, that's all we need. Let's cross fingers and make sure that everything works. So npm, everything's saved. Npm run dev. Obviously, things. Oh, did I put one too many m's up in there? Yeah, I did put one too many m's in there. That's what was complaining. Cool. That was just a minor mistake, spelling mistake. And then there's more increments. Incremental, yep. Just a few spelling errors. Cool. This is literally coding. Can't find app. Can't find app. Oh, okay, because you gotta tell it it's in this. Cool. Cool, finally, and after 1,000 years, we got the app has started on port 3000. So if we go here and go to localhost 3000, oh yeah, we don't have a get, but this is a good indicator. So this is Express working without any routes. It'll just spit out, hey, I can't, if there's no route defined, then it won't get it. Cool. So now let's make the controllers. Now the controllers are what will be handling the routes. So the routes will point to a single controller, and over there the controller will handle the request. So let's make a controller. Let's make a controllers folder, and over here let's make a new file called home.controllers controller.typescript. Cool. So let's make a simple get so that we know it's successful. So again, should probably make hotkeys for this or something. But we're gonna import Express, because we need it for the routing and so on and so forth. And we're gonna also need another thing. Actually, what we could do is, I think this will work. I hope the gods work in my favor, but we can also pull out request and response from here. Cool. Yeah, and that's all we need for the home controller. So now let's define the home controller, and over here obviously they all need a fancy little constructor, and this will just call init routes just to make it more clean. And over here we're gonna have a public, let's make this a private because we don't really use it, init routes, and over here we're gonna have a path, public path, which will be the route, and this will pretty much just be a /, and then we're going to have a router attach this. Oops, do not need that. Public router equals to express router, just to be consistent for the most part. Okay, so init routes, right? So over here, so we got the express router over here, and it's defined under this class. So we'll have to use the this keyword to specify that we're talking about this router. So let's make a get with the /, and we're gonna just make this .home handle it. And now let's make the home handler, which will be handling this request. So let's make it of type request and response type response. Cool. And over here pretty much we're just going to do, just to show that it's successful, so we're going to do success. So if we save this, you notice at the bottom there's a whole bunch of magic going on, which is pretty much Node.js just keeping track of everything. So we're gonna import the controller that we just made, controllers / home.controller, right? And what do we name it? We named it home controller. Cool. So now we just initialize the home controller over here, and over in the app folder we gotta just ignore that stuff at the bottom. I don't think it's anything. Oh, I didn't export, but we will fix that up soon. So let's just fix up server just right now. I mean the app folder. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna initialize the routes passed in. So we're gonna do controllers, which is passed in, and we're gonna do the controllers that's passed in, and we're gonna do a for each iteration over it, because you gotta remember that we did pass in an array of controllers, so this would be iterable. We use this dot app dot use, and it's gonna use the controller dot path, and then it's gonna use the controller router. It's gonna bootstrap it that way. So now let's always remember to export your variables. So export default home controller. So app has started on port 3000, and let's see if things work. Wait, where did I? Oh, I didn't save this. Oh, I need to call this function, I forgot, in the constructor. So let's forget about this. In the constructor, I need to call the routes. So this dot routes, and app init dot controllers. Cool, and there we see the success getting passed through. So this is the basic setup of an Express backend, like the basic skeleton around it. And now what I would usually do is, because I usually don't, the best practice around service controller layer, you actually want to have a folder called services. And over here, you're going to have different services that help out the home controller. The home controller can use many services just to get its job done. And that's how we're going to take this approach to this video at least. Another thing is, before I move on too much, let's also set up the middlewares, and it's going to take app init dot middlewares. Let's type this to any, and we're going to do the same thing here, where we're going to do a private middlewares. It's going to take in a middlewares, it's any, and then we're going to do a pretty much an iteration over the middlewares. So for each, hate when it keeps doing that, but whatever, and it's gonna set a middleware, and over here we're going to use this middleware. So app.use middleware. Cool. So now whatever we pass here, so now let's bring in the body parser. So import statement body parser. That brings in body parser, and over here we will get in body parser. Yep, beautiful. And now, sorry, I got this in the wrong folder without seeing, so I want to do it in the server folder. And all the middlewares can be passed in over here. So we do body parser dot, we will accept JSON, and body parser, we will also take URL encoding, URL encode, and extended true URL encode, encoded, sorry, it's past tense. Yeah, there you go. And this is pretty much how I like to set up my application when it comes to Express. And that's pretty much the start of this whole journey. I hope you stay tuned for part 2, where I will be hooking up Cognito to this, which will be even more fun and even more debugging. So stay tuned for the next episode. Part 2 will be coming out soon. And thanks for watching, and smash that like button.